All right, welcome back to Not Weird, Just Homeschooled. My name is Jeremy Demery, the host of the show. We've been on a bit of a hiatus for the last few months, and that's on me. I've been just super busy with a bunch of different projects. But I'm going to release all these episodes all at once. This way you can just listen to them at your leisure and at whatever pace you want to listen to. Now, there might be parts in the episode where, it sounds like we don't know what we're talking about because, the election's already happened and everything, and it hasn't happened when we recorded these episodes. So it's not that we're uninformed. It's that we don't know yet. So, and they were filmed a bunch of time, a long time ago. So, if you've already heard this portion, you can go ahead and fast forward through it in the future episodes, because I'm just going to add the same thing to every single start of each episode. So as like a little bit of a disclaimer, enjoy it. My name's Gheramy and Ton again, and enjoy the episodes.
Yeah, I was into skateboarding a little bit before I moved to the suburbs, because we lived in apartments, so that's like all you really could do outside was skateboard. And then when I moved to the suburbs, it was like, there was dirt, and so everybody was into BMXing, and I was still like this skateboard kid in my heart, and I was like seeing this kid BMX bike, and I would skateboard over to him, and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Like, try to hang out. He'd be like, "You're gay," and would ride off to the jumps, and I'd be like, "Oh, I guess skateboarding's not cool anymore."
Yeah, it's so funny because, yes, that was very much so the culture. Then, skateboarders didn't like rollerbladers,
and BMXers hated skateboarders.
Exactly,
and that was just the way it was.
There was no crossing of cultures there, and but now it's like they don't care.
They don't. That's weird, huh?
Yeah.
Because growing up for us in the 90s and the 2000s, if you rollerbladed, you sucked dick. That's how we said.
Yeah.
And we were little kids. We didn't even know what that meant, but we knew you sucked dick if you rollerblade.
We didn't know what dick was.
We didn't even understand it.
Yeah.
You like the movie Blade, or what was that movie from Disney Channel?
I have no idea.
Oh yeah, you grew up religious. You wouldn't know Disney Channel.
Yeah,
huh?
well, we didn't even have a TV in my house.
Oh really?
I was like 12.
No shit.
Yeah, we would have to borrow TV from family.
See, we grew up poor, so I had TVs in my house, but they were black and white. I didn't get a color TV until I was 9.
Yeah, I don't even remember if it was color TV or not. I know we had to borrow it from some family member or a friend.
See, that was the funny thing is because I did know some kids who grew up homeschooled in my neighborhood. It was this twins, Kenneth and Garland, super religious, and they were weird. And they came over one time, and my mom gave them a Dr. Pepper. And then they weren't allowed over anymore. After that, we weren't even allowed to hang out with them. Hey, can Kenneth and Garland come play? No, they're busy. It's because of that damn Dr. Pepper. But I think they were Mormon after thinking about it, so they couldn't have nothing.
It's interesting because I didn't have soda until it was I remember I vividly remember my very first soda. I was in North Dakota, which is the reservation where my dad grew up. I found 25 cents on the ground, and it was a can of soda was 25 cents. So I walked over to the gas station, put it in the vending machine, hit Mountain Dew, because that was the only thing I knew and I recognized. And so I hit Mountain Dew, and I got the soda. I'm thinking, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I found the quarter, so whatever.
Yeah.
So I pop it open, I have a sip, and I just got so angry. I was like, why have they been keeping me from this? I was so mad. I remember thinking, why is this a bad thing? And then you're all wired up and you're tensed and this is why it's bad.
See, I grew up totally different. I would go to my friend Danny Bowden's house when I was in 5th grade, and we got the new Yoshi's Island video game for the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo. She's just got Yoshi's Island. She bought us Pizza Hut, an entire case of Volt, or maybe it was called Surge back then. It was basically the first energy drink that was like a soda that they didn't realize it was an energy drink, but she gave us that and a giant bag of hot Cheetos, and we were up till like 4 a.m. playing Yoshi's Island.
Wow.
And then I even peed my pants, and I didn't care. I was playing the video game, so I pissed my pants playing the video game because I was so fucking focused with my hot Cheetos and Pizza Hut and Surge.
Do you see like little similarities between yourself and your kid? What's your son's name again? I'm sorry.
Henry. Henry's 6 years old. Yeah, I see similarities. Emerson's 7, and my youngest is 3.
Okay.
Daphne.
Oh, you have 3 kids.
Yeah, so Emerson, Henry, and Daphne. Yeah. Emerson and Henry were named after authors. At least my wife says that. And then I just didn't want her to name my second son Lampshade, okay? My second kid. I was like, I need a normal name. Because, like, listen, I love my daughter Emerson's name now. But at the time, I was like, that's a boy's name, you know? But now it's like, it's fine. Everybody's fine with it. Nobody thinks it's weird. But, like, in the moment, you're like, why are you naming my kid this, you know? But
I'm Gheramy with the GH. So.
Right, yeah, I know, yeah. No, yeah, exactly. Your parents did that to piss everybody else off.
Well, yeah.
But so when Henry, I fought tooth and nail, like, no, you're not going to name him something weird. We're going to go at least pretty normal. So she was like, so Henry came up and she said, okay, Henry David Thoreau. All right, that works for me. And then,
yeah, that's a nice name.
Yeah, Henry's a solid name. Yeah,
presidential.
Yeah, King.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's King. There's 8 of them at least. But yeah, so I was happy with Henry. I wanted the third. I'm a junior, so I wanted the third, and she was like, absolutely against it. No way were we gonna have a 3 in the house.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. She's like, the legacy dies here.
Yeah, with you.
Yeah.
Screw your father and everything he's done.
So yeah, do you see little similarities?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Henry is like when I was his age, I was all about video games. I mean, I have Mario tattoos because of when I was a kid, right? Playing Mario all day long, Yoshi's Island, things like that. And now Henry, he's got the Nintendo Switch. He's got it up in his room, and he plays Zelda nonstop. And like, if you give him a chance to talk about the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and that's how I taught this kid to read, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I go, oh, you want to know what they're saying? Figure it out. Sound it out, because I'm not going to help you read this. So if you want to play this video game, you better make it a priority to learn how to read. And so now he's, made it through kindergarten. He can read everything. He's like halfway through the game.
I was talking to this parent. I was at a wedding over the weekend, and some old friends of mine I ran into that like I used to work with. Now that both have kids now, I'm like, he was talking about how he's like, yeah, I try to keep my kid off of video games and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's really odd because like it does teach a lot of things in video games. It teaches critical thinking.
100%.
It teaches you hand-eye coordination. It
problem solving,
reading,
yeah.
Really, there's a lot of immersive things that you need. There's a lot of tools that you need that come with education.
Yeah.
To play those video games and play them effectively.
Right.
So I was like, that's such in my head, I'm like, such a weird stance.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm 100% opposite.
It was funny how quickly he reverted to like, no, but we do let them play games. I mean, we let them play. Like, you just said a second ago, like, we make sure they're out in the yard. I'm like, your kid's going to do that anyways. I know. Fucking kid.
I know. It's the winter time, dude. Let them play some video games.
Right?
We're all bored. Right? Nobody wants to go outside right now. Like, that's the funny thing about living in Ohio is, like, my wife's like, oh, I'm so excited for the seasons. Are you? Because we go outside in the winter, in the snow, 2 times the entire winter. And then the rest of the time we're like, when's it going to be warm again?
Yeah, that's crazy talk.
I know.
That's the only thing I miss about California is the fucking weather.
The weather
is so good.
The problem is it's the reverse, right? So, like, yeah, it's nice 6 months out of the year, but 6 months out of the year it's fucking hot.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, in California right now it's probably like 105 or something. And it's just unbearable. And if you don't have the money for AC, you're sweating, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's not fun. We were so broke, we would go to the grocery store and just walk around to be in the AC.
Or like 24-hour
Yeah.
Kmart's or Walmart's.
Yeah, we would just
and
go
shit.
walk around. We wouldn't buy nothing. We would literally just be like, we're just trying to cool down.
Yeah, that's what I would do growing up.
Oh,
We
yeah.
didn't have during the summer, like we didn't have AC at my place. Like I don't think they got AC until after I'd moved out. So and then I didn't get AC when all the places I lived at didn't have air conditioning until my current home.
Really?
The house I bought 2 years ago is the first time I've ever had air
Oh,
conditioning.
really?
Let me tell you, my friend.
It's a nice little thing,
Oh,
huh?
man, what a new world.
We busted it out last night. We had it at 70 to sleep, and we were like, man, this is the best sleep we've had in like a week because it's been kind of hot. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And so it was nice to actually just have the windows closed and the AC on. I remember getting my first AC like when I moved out. So I moved out of my house when I was like 19, and I destroyed that apartment, and I.
That's what you do at 19.
Yeah, oh yeah, 19. You destroy the apartment. You get a fucking credit card from the bank because you're in school, and so you take that fucking $5,000 that you got and you buy Xboxes, and you know what I mean. Like that's what I did. I was buying cigarettes, Xboxes, and gas, and I was just living life off this $5,000. But I had the AC blasting, and then all of a sudden it was like rent was due, and I was like, oh, I don't have it. So, I guess I'm moving back to my parents. And I moved back for like 2 months, and then I moved in with a buddy, and I had my own room, and they didn't have no AC in the house, so I went out and I bought the little AC unit.
Yeah, the window unit.
The window unit. They called my room the icebox because I'd keep it at like 62 all year. Like I don't care. They'd be like, hey, open up that door and let the rest of the house get some. Nah, I'm good.
That's funny. One time, I lived on a house on Clifton in Lakewood, and the owners of the house bought us all like AC units for each of our rooms, but it created more heat than it did AC.
Did it? Oh,
so
no.
I was like, "Fuck this thing."
If they didn't, if it's not in the window and the heat isn't going out, those things don't work. Those stand-up units with
That's
the
what
like,
it- yeah, that's what
those
it
don't
was.
work for nothing.
Yeah, it made the room hotter.
Yeah,
So I was like,
100%.
Fuck this. But it was a sweet gesture. It just didn't work.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, get us the window one next time.
Yeah.
Because those ones work. Those window deals, they work great.
But the way my windows were shaped, there's no way a window unit would work too. So,
Yeah, you
and
just
I was
gotta
on the
do it.
top floor. Brutal.
Yeah, no, our AC works good at the house, but we bought a house that's 105 years old, built in 1920, so 104. There's no insulation in the walls. It's just the attic is just blistering hot, and there's so it's like if we put the AC on, it's like it really racks up the price.
Now, did your wife grow up here?
No. My wife grew up in Colorado. So I bought a house in California for $120,000. It was a shack. I mean, in the mountains of California. So this place called Running Springs. So maybe you've heard of Big Bear and like Lake Arrowhead.
Mm-hmm.
Running Springs, smack dab in the middle in the mountains.
Got it.
And the reason I bought that house is because I'm trying to convince my wife to stay in California because that's where my job was. And I'm like, well, what can I do? Where can I buy a home and be made like an hour away from work? And so Running Springs was it. And it was a beautiful place. I loved Running Springs.
Mm-hmm.
But our house was a shack, 657 square feet.
Wow.
And at the time, we only had 2 kids, and they were little kids. So it's like, okay, they could share a small bedroom. Me and my wife will be in the bedroom. And then we had like a little upstairs. So the upstairs area was actually the living room and the kitchen and everything else. It was like on a hill. So you'd park on the hill and then walk into the house. You'd be upstairs in the living room, and then you go downstairs.
Oh, okay, I got it.
And that's where the bedrooms were. It's very small, 657 square feet, very small house. I bought it for $120,000. I was paying like $900 a month in mortgage. I did it like an FHA loan. And then over the course of 5 years, that little shack went from $120,000 to $320,000. And so me and my wife were like, we couldn't afford to buy this house. We should sell it and take this money and go somewhere. And that's exactly what we did.
Wow.
So we made like $200,000, and we were like, okay, where in the country can we go? Raise a family, comedy was huge, important part for me. And it's like, okay, Cleveland's got 2 clubs. Online, it says there's 3 clubs. Plus, there's the little club in Akron, and then Columbus is like 2 hours away. So it's like, oh, that's not bad. I mean, I was driving 2 hours to L.A.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, being in that area, 2 hours.
I was driving.
Drive is
yeah,
nothing.
it was nothing. I mean, I would drive 2 hours to get to like the Winco, which was like the cheap Costco that you didn't have to have a membership.
Mm-hmm.
I would drive 2 hours to get to the Winco, so it's like, okay, I'll drive. Like this is fine, and it would be 2 hours in traffic. So I was like, okay, Cleveland sounds good, and then she looked up, and we ended up in Lyndhurst, which is a really nice area compared to where we were from, or where we could even afford in California. And so it was like a no-brainer. And then the school districts were okay, but my wife still was scared, so she said, I'll just homeschool. And then, yeah, we just ended up here. I put like $70,000 down on the house, so I mean, my mortgage payments is like $1,000.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Especially in Lyndhurst. Lyndhurst is
nice. It's like, I mean, it's north of Beechwood. Everybody's like, oh, Beechwood's real nice. I mean, I think Lyndhurst is great. They got a Dillard's. So I was like, okay, this is cool. Like where I was from in California, they didn't have Dillard's. They had fucking Dee Dee's Discount, which is like,
right.
Like a Ross, replacement,
Yeah.
It's like if Ross was a black lady named Dee Dee, that's what it would be. They used to have commercials. It'd be like, yo, shop at Dee Dee's. And it would be like a dude like this. Shop at Dee Dee's. We got it all.
I get my stuff at Dee Dee's.
Hey, where'd you get that hat? Dee Dee's.
Big baggy white shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
One-stop shop.
Oh, yeah. No, and I would have to shop there because it's like everything was cheaper there. So I'd be dropping like Black Lives Matter stuff with like African American flags and stuff. Don't care, dude.
Hell yeah.
I would wear that shit on stage too. That was fun. Good old times, man.
Yeah. Back when things were simpler.
Yeah, when a white guy could wear African. It was like the Africa, the continent in those colors. And I'm wearing this.
I always thought that was the one that I was like, that one's a little interesting because like they're not all from Africa.
I know. Didn't make no sense. I bought the shirt though.
Like historically speaking, we don't know where all of them are from.
No, we don't.
So why are we choosing Africa of all
Not even
places?
a little bit. I mean, you know how big Africa is? It's huge, dude.
There's pyramids, there's Egyptians, like there's a lot of different Africans going on.
It's true.
So, and also there's apartheid and colonization.
Yeah,
there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of white people that came.
Yeah,
Dave Matthews Band. Do I need to make any more? That's the whitest person I can think of.
Yeah.
If somebody said,
"Oh, Dave Matthews Band's from Africa,"
Dave Matthews himself is from Africa.
Oh, I mean, the band might as well be too. Then.
Yeah, I guess so.
Dave Matthews Band. That guy's from. I did not know that.
Dave Matthews is from Africa.
Wow, I actually like some of his songs.
So you can say that to him, and it won't be a racist thing.
No.
It just means you don't really like his music.
I would shop there to just be like, "Yo, I'm broke too, man." Because when I would do shows in like that area of like the ghetto, like San Bernardino area, it's like, oh, if
Africa.
Yeah, no.
When I'm doing comedy down in Madagascar.
No, I definitely wanted to fit in with the crowd. Like, yo, I'm poor too, I'm here for the 50-cent wings like everybody else.
It's like God intended.
I grew up poor though. Like my mom had me at 16. Like I was one of those kids which was also a blessing because like she made me cool, right? Like she wasn't gonna like she was still a hip person. Like she was still in the know of like she wasn't like that mom you'd be embarrassed by. You're like, no, my mom's cool. Like and like she was like the PTA president when I was in second grade, and she died like 11 years ago. She was my mom and dad split up, and then she got with this guy. Why can't I think of his name? It doesn't matter, but he ended up shooting her. Yeah.
Whoa, really?
I know, yeah. And then so I lost my mom when I was like 22 or 23.
Where was she living at the time?
She was living with him in this like apartment type deal
in Los Angeles.
No, in Memphis. She was still like around us. She like had a job at Target. She was like she was working, and my mom and dad had split up. They were probably not together for like 4 or 5 years at the time.
How old were you when they split up?
18. My dad was like, I'm done on like my 18th, like maybe the week after my 18th birthday. Or maybe like the week after I graduated high school. One of those two where like it was like finally I'm the oldest kid he's like he was just done.
Oh, so you're the oldest.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of my sister's two. So my sister's 16 months younger than me.
Oh, okay.
Or older than or younger, yeah. So I'm 16 months older than my sister. We were Irish twins basically.
Got it. So yeah, so you were 18 and he's like, I'm done. So they were just together for the kids at that point. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but like I always used to say I was raised by a single mother. My dad was around, he was just always in his room, and that was kind of the vibe. Now my dad wasn't a bad dad. Like when I was, he provided for us. We never wanted for nothing. All those things, but love, he wasn't good at that part. And so
wasn't really like prepared to be a dad.
No, I mean, who was
struggling with
right
the being a dad part? Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, you got to be a dad after you're just done being a teenager.
Right. Oh, how old was he when you?
So he was 19. So it was a little,
That's still so young. Holy shit. How old are you when you started having kids?
27.
Yeah, that's.
So you're ready at that point.
Yeah, even that seems young to me. I'm 38, and I'm like, if somebody in my age was like having a kid, I'm like, man, so why now?
You should hear about my Uncle Steve, man. He had his first kid at 51.
Holy shit.
Oh, you want to hear something funnier?
It's too young.
Wait.
I'm kidding.
Wait. My dad, I have a little brother who's 35 years younger than me.
Wow.
Yeah, he was born on February 1st. I'm born January 28th, so 3 days after my birthday, they had a kid this year. So he's like maybe 6 months old now. My little brother Jack, with my stepmom.
Oopsie baby? Oh, stepmom.
Stepmom, she also has 3 kids, and her youngest just finished high school. So this is like those kids are leaving the house. I don't know if it's an oopsie or not. I mean, who knows? They won't tell me. But as far as I know, they wanted the kid and they're happy to have him. And now my dad gets to go through all this shit that I've been going through for like this last 7 years. He's
calling you for tips.
Yeah, exactly. How do you get this thing to shut up? Just don't shake it, Dad. Just don't shake it.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
that's all I know about. And make sure the head's above water.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, you're pretty good, yeah. Don't feed them too early. You can't give them food yet. You got to give them formula, stuff like that.
See, I didn't even know that part. Part up.
Oh, yeah, you kill the baby. No.
It says baby food on the jar.
I can't
specify an age.
Yeah, my dad had a kid. You know what they named him? They named him Jack Bowers, no middle name. And it might sound familiar to you because there was a famous show called 24 where there was 24 hours in the day, and every episode was 1 hour, and their detective was the detective Jack Bowers. Yeah, they spelled it differently because my last name's Bowers. Yeah. Jack Bowers, Bauers. But
okay.
But still, same ring.
Loved that show.
Oh, my dad loved that show too, and I don't think that he realizes that that's what he named his kid after.
That is really funny. Big fan of the show. Never connected.
Didn't connect the fact that his son is named after the same detective, Jack Bowers. No, I haven't told him yet. But I mean, in all fairness, my son is Henry Bowers, and if you ever watch the movie It, Henry Bowers is the racist kid in the movie It. So, I mean, I can't really talk.
Okay. But you should do that on for a birthday card.
Oh yeah.
We
should send the 24. That's a good idea.
The baby's head, not tattooed. The baby's head, photoshopped.
Oh yeah, onto Jack Bauer. Yeah,
on Jack Bauer's body.
Yeah. Happy birthday, little brother. I mean, 35 years difference. That's wild. Wild.
Yeah, that's great. So, when your dad left, obviously, he moved out of the house?
Yes.
Okay. And then where did he move to?
I don't know, like an apartment closer to his work.
Oh, so you guys really had did he have visitation rights? Did you go over to his place?
Yeah, well, they really, so they were separated. They didn't get divorced. And they were separated all the way up until my mom died. So they never actually got a divorce.
Wow.
He was in an apartment in Rialto. Actually, I have a funny story about my dad. So he started dating this other lady. I don't remember her name. But then she had gotten a restraining order against him. And I go, why, Dad? And he goes, well, I shit and I put it under her car door handle. I was like, why'd you do that? Yeah, just to get back at her. For what? He didn't tell me why, but he did do that.
That guy is he loves love too much, really.
He put shit under her car door handle.
He's one passionate man.
Yeah.
Say what you want.
Marking his territory, I suppose.
Say what you want about him. Very passionate.
Yeah.
That takes passion.
To be able to just even do that.
Yeah, to shit in your own hand and to wipe it underneath, like
to make sure that she touched it. That was his whole. I don't know.
Yeah. Just the concealment of it.
You know what the funny part is that the shit in the hand didn't even register to me because I saw my dad. My dad was a plumber, so
How weird is it that her first thought is there's shit underneath my door handle? I know who put this shit. Like she didn't really have much
I know, huh?
detective work to go through.
No, there's only one man who could do this.
I know that shit. Smelling her fingers.
Oh, I recognize this. What were they into?
Yeah,
I don't know.
How long were they dating?
Maybe a few months. I don't really.
Wow, only he went that crazy.
I think the fact, but it was maybe so. My dad, at one point in his career, he was the highest paid plumber in the country.
Wow.
So back in the boom before 2008, he was like a general superintendent kind of thing, or maybe even basically there was the owners and then my dad. You know, he was making $300,000 a year as a plumber. That's buco insane. Bucks. Yeah. Well, he was in some sort of magazine for plumbers. Tony Bowers, whatever.
Plumber extraordinaire.
Yeah, exactly. But my dad was bad with money at that time. He thought he was rich enough to tell my mom, "Hey, buy new socks at the grocery store every time you go grocery shopping. I want new socks every day." He would wear a new pair of socks every day.
Interesting.
That's what he did with his money.
His old socks.
Just throw them away.
Interesting.
I know. He didn't realize. It's like, dude, you're not a billionaire. Keep your socks.
Yeah, especially in California.
Oh, I know. Oh, and then it all went away. 2008, there was nothing. It was gone. He didn't save much money. We lost the house. And when we lost the house, me and my sister didn't move out. My dad just at that point, my dad's kind of leaving because 2008, I'm 18, right? Because I'm class of 07, so it's basically all this is happening at once. We lost the house. He moves out. My mom moves out. My mom actually moves to Tennessee to go be with her mom, and me and Janie are in this house waiting for the bank to kick us out. And so we're throwing crazy parties because we didn't go to college. I didn't go to college. So I'm just throwing these college level parties at my family home that I grew up in. My dad probably put 10 or 20 grand into the backyard, built this nice dog run and all this stuff, and we were kicking down fence posts to burn them in a bonfire. We tore this house up, dude.
I was talking about there's no greater party than going to an eviction party.
Yeah.
Where you just know that they don't give a flying, especially when you're that young, you're money is just completely disposable.
Yeah.
So you just fuck up that house.
Oh, we did. We did. We were there for 3 years before they kicked us out because it was
At least you did it to a bank. Fuck
yeah,
them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My dad already had lost it. There's no point.
And all those predatory loans.
So basically, we're just squatting in this house.
So you're 18, so you got a job. So yeah, your tax dollars paid for that fucking bank to get bailed out.
Right.
And you fucked up that house.
Exactly.
It's called reparations where I come from, brother. Being Native American.
We take that, yeah. No, it wasn't too bad, man. And I felt like I got the college experience of the parties and whatever. We had beer pong tournaments, the whole thing, Yeah.
You simulated college experience.
Yeah, without all the school or the wasted money, all that stuff.
Yeah, whatever you invested into that party, you saved in the college education.
Oh, it wasn't one party. It was
several.
100, every night almost for 2 years straight.
That rules.
Yeah.
And and you have the squatters, right? So they have it takes a certain amount of time to be able to kick you out lawfully. That's awesome.
No, the only reason I left is because my dad was moving to Texas and he had a job for me to come plumbing and I could make $30 an hour. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I'm like, 20 years old. Like, all right, I guess I'm
That's
going to
good
move
money.
to Texas and I was there for like a year in Texas, making $30 an hour, learning how to plumb. And then I just stayed with plumbing, and now I'm a plumbing engineer. And
Did your sister stay in the house?
for a while, and
Yeah.
then she got a boyfriend, moved out, and it just kind of just
They
was
would
like,
have the bank would have offered you guys money
to leave.
To leave.
Oh, yeah, we could have stayed longer probably.
Yeah, it's so funny because like we used to do that. Like so, my uncle was a real estate agent who would do work for the bank all the time, and so like he'd be like, here's a $3,000 check. Go give it to these people, and then have them sign this paper that they'll be out in 60 days. So you're like $4,000, get out.
I wish.
So it was like a cash for keys deal.
Yeah.
And then the bank would reimburse him. So it was kind of
it's like no sweat off his back.
right.
Huh.
So it was kind of one of those things. And then he would charge them for like cleaning the place. He'd charge the bank for
Oh, they would have needed about $2,000 worth of cleaning at our place.
my uncle would have charged them and then just had like myself and my cousin stop by and like clean up a few things of trash and throw it into a dumpster and then charge them like $4,000.
So the way I made money, I had a job. I was like a mover at the time, but the way I made money was I had roommates. It was like a 4-bedroom house. So Janie had one room, I had one room. We had 2 rooms to rent out. There was a couple that rented it for like this is 2008. We're like, okay, $600. We don't know how to sell a room.
You're right.
So me and Janie were making like, he would give us $600 and the other kid would give us like 600. So it's like, okay, now we have $600, but it didn't go towards nothing. It was just money for us, for you to stay here. And we would use it to buy groceries and beer,
Which they probably took part in. So.
Oh, yeah. So it wasn't that bad for them. It's a good deal for them.
Yeah, it's a pretty good return on your investment.
One of the dudes had birds in the fucking one of the rooms, and the bird just shit all over the walls. Didn't clean it up, nothing. Yeah.
That's great. I love hearing, especially during that time, like, man, fuck the banks during that time because the predatory loans, getting bailed out by literally taxpayers' money, and then they have the audacity to fucking charge us like overdraft fees and shit like that. You go fuck yourself.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You should be thanking us on like fucking bended knee.
Yeah, but they don't. You strike me as a person who watch a lot of like First Minute audits.
Like the the auditors type things. Yes, I watch. It's like basically my like.
That's what my playlist when I'm working is like. Have you ever seen the guy Press NH Now? Shout out Press NH Now. He's this dude from Boston, Massachusetts, and he's the most rudest motherfucker to these people.
You gotta send me this.
Oh,
guy.
I'll send it. Oh, dude, you'll love it, dude. You'll have hours and hours of stuff because he'll be like. I don't know. He just acts like he's their supervisor, and he comes in and he's like, "What's up with all this shit? You got to cover this fucking shit. What is wrong with you?" And they're like, "You need to get out of here." And he's like, "I'm not fucking going anywhere."
Yes, I watch a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, me too.
Or like I'll watch. Oh man, I got caught up in a wormhole of watching cops arresting other cops.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've been that same wormhole. It must be in something about your late 30s that's what you are interested in.
Because you hate the cops.
Yeah, because we all hate the cops. I love a good ID refusal.
Well, we're like we're the generation of like we got fucked so many times by the system that like you have no faith in it whatsoever, and then the system's being enforced by these guys who are cops.
Yeah.
Over property. When they swore an oath to protect us.
Yeah, the Constitution,
right? Like you swore an oath to protect me, but yet you seem to be more concerned of what's happening with this property,
right?
And that's crazy to me, and so that's why I hate cops.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm right there with you. I literally spend hours a day on YouTube, because I have the split screen. So on this screen I have all my work, and on this screen is YouTube with just audits and fuck the police and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
you get bored of podcasts after a while. You know what I mean? No offense. I mean, obviously this is what we're doing, and we want people to watch, but. Like sometimes you don't have time to listen to somebody else talking. You're like, let me see some real world shit right now.
Or like, or I'll listen to books on.
Yeah, I'll do a book on tape every once in a while. That's what I do on long drives. I'll do a book on tape, or I'll call like a buddy and I'll be like, hey, I got like a 2-hour drive. You got an hour to kill.
Should record those.
Yeah, no, that would be good. Yeah. Well, half the time it's him because it's like one of my best friends in the world. This dude Will Holland. He's a comedian as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just workshop all my jokes with him, and before you know it, I'll have a whole new 15 minutes. Just workshopping ideas of even
I have that same thing with John Bruton.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll just call each other and riff.
Yeah.
For like a good 2 hours.
Yeah, you got to have somebody that can trust you, that you trust with your jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust Will 100% with my jokes. And a lot of the times it'll be like, oh, I didn't even think of it from that angle. Because he's more of that clever guy. I'm like an energy guy, right? He's like the clever guy. So it's like nice to, hey, make this clever for me.
Yeah, John Bruton's got such a mind for comedy. The fact that he allows us to do this is definitely more beneficial for me than I think for him. But I'm good at like listening, and like if he asks me a question, like, oh, this is my take on it or how I view it. So it's been fun. We've been doing it now for 4 years, maybe plus.
Right, and I've only been in this. I mean, I've been in Ohio for 2 years, and I've trying to work my way into the scene, but it's like also I'm a father and I don't have much time to go hang out at the open mic for no reason, So it's like I'm slowly but surely gaining more and more friendships, and it's like, oh, okay, it's starting to mold itself. Whereas in California, I spent 10 years around these people, and it was like, who your friends are, you know all this stuff.
You're built into the community.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I was like a staple of like, oh, where's Tony, And now it's like, oh, I gotta start from ground, but it's not exactly ground level. It's not like I'm an open micer anymore. Right. It's like, who's this guy showing up to Cleveland doing these shows and being funny?
It was pretty apparent to us real quickly that you weren't just an open micer.
Right. I appreciate that.
You had stage presence. You had good bits. So I'm like, oh, this guy's not starting from scratch.
No. He must have been doing this a while.
Yeah. Other than that, he's like a savant that no one just didn't realize.
I should have played it like that to you guys. No, that was my first time.
Yeah. So what is this like? You just go to like different mics? Is that what you call them? Mics?
Mics? Is that what it is? Okay.
Run the light.
Is there a difference between? Is there a difference between like an open mic and just a mic? I'm like trying to figure this out.
One guy did 15 minutes of killer material, and he just said, he was like, "Yeah, I didn't know you're supposed to stop when you see the light."
If I ever move out again, I'll do that to the next city.
Yeah, do that. Look out, Pittsburgh.
Here I come.
Yeah, good luck trying to find a city that's cheaper than Cleveland, though.
Holy shit. Well, and like I don't think that people in Cleveland realize how good they have it in Cleveland. Because it's like a lot of the times it's like, why'd you move from California? It's like, because Cleveland's not that bad. There's a lot to do here. You got games. You got there's not sports in every city you go to. You guys got them all except for hockey. And then even then, you do have like a minor hockey team, which is like, okay, you have it all.
And they're pretty good in minor league.
Oh no, yeah, they were like the playoffs and everything. So my son is 100% Cleveland everything. I was like, okay, listen, we live here. We're switching teams. I can't be a Dodgers fan anymore. I guess I'm a Cleveland Guardians fan, and I've adopted it, and I love it, man. Like, we watching the playoffs, like, for basketball, the Cavs with my son, letting him stay up late to watch the game. Oh, man, it was one of the best things I've ever done with him. Because I'm, like, teaching him the game as we're watching, and he's like, come on, Garland, and, like, he knows everybody's name. He's like, man, Mobley's on it tonight, Dad. Like, he'll say whatever I was saying, but he's, like, and he's like, am I saying this right? Yeah. And then, like, anytime the opposing team shoots, he'll be like, brick!
Have you noticed that your kids talk a lot more adult-like because of the fact that they're around adults so very often?
Yes. It's apparent to everybody that comes in contact with our kids. They're like, wow, they speak really well. And it's like, yeah, because I haven't talked to him like a baby since he was a baby. Like, pretty much at 2, it's like, hey, get your shit together, kid. Like, let's get moving.
Yeah, because that gets old quickly as an adult. Like, you don't want to talk to them like that. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why my nephews, they think I'm pretty cool, is because I don't talk to them like they're babies.
No.
I just talk to them like anyone else in the room.
Yeah.
So I think that they like the fact that I don't seem like to like coddle them in any way. Like, I'm just there hanging out as like a peer.
Right, no, 100%. And I think that's also another benefit from homeschooling is like, I didn't really have to hold back. Like, I cuss, dude. That's just who I am. I say fucking shit, and I say it to my kids. And maybe that's frowned upon, but you know what? They're not going to some other school and saying it, So it's fun. They're not even saying it in front of me, but I guarantee if they were at brick and mortar school, that's what my wife calls it, they'd be fucking shit and cut, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't because they're around me. And so now I don't really have to hide who I am. I don't have to change who I am to be like, oh, some other kid's parents are going to be mad that my son said fuck. I don't care.
Yeah. I that's one thing I noticed about like myself and my siblings is that we all talked very adult quickly because of the fact that we were just around my parents or my parents' friends.
Right.
Like for the longest time. Like,
yeah.
We probably spent way more time with them with like, the church kids or, kids in the neighborhood. Like,
sure.
I think I only had like 3 friends in the neighborhood, one of which who's also homeschooled, and we're still good buddies to this day. And but the other 2 that I was like friends with in the neighborhood, I one of which I talk to here and there, but maybe once a year at most. And then the other kid in the neighborhood I haven't seen in fucking years. Like I don't know what happened to him. I don't know where he went. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like after he moved out of the neighborhood, we just lost all contact.
I think also, so for me, I was public schooled, right? And it's like, oh, I have all these friends. And then you lose all those friends within the first 5 years of leaving high school anyways. Right? So like, and then maybe you have a handful until you're 30. And then now that you have kids, it's like, I guess, like, I haven't talked to any of my friends from like high school and growing up, maybe on the phone once or twice in the past year. And it's like, okay, like, and I still would die for these people, but it's just, we're on different wavelengths now, right? It's like, I got kids. So now I'm hanging out with like the kids' parents from soccer, and it's like, oh, I like these people. So it's like, hey, you guys want to get together and barbecue? Okay, cool. We'll let our kids hang out. And it's like, we get to know them. And it's like, now these people are my friends. So it's like, it didn't really matter at the end of it, like socially, to be like, oh, I've had this one friend since, second grade. Well, good. I mean, great. But we're on different life paths. So you might not see that kid in, another 10 years.
They don't really necessarily fit into the
your
life
schedule,
right? Your schedule, your life, like that's why I guess in the sense like you become friends with like people in the neighborhood or through sports and whatever.
Right.
Those are now like because they also have kids. They're on the same.
Yeah, they're on the same schedule. We see everybody. We'll see you Monday and Saturday, right? Yeah, all right. And so that becomes your friend, And now it's like, okay, we got to find a couple more cool parents, and then we could be like, like a squad, Hey, you guys want to go in on like a mansion down in Hockin Hills and, hang out for the weekend?
That's cool. I'm thinking about that because we at Secret Society Comedy, like we've been not doing as many weekend shows, and the first Friday that we had off in like 7 months, I was like, what the fuck did I used to do before comedy?
Right.
Like, what was like, and I'm like, oh, all of my friends now are either married and have kids and they're already asleep at like 9:30, or they work in the service industry, and so they're at work.
Right. And
that's how they make their money over the weekend. So I really sat there going, what the fuck did I used to do for fun? And I'm like, I was just at a complete loss. Like,
yeah.
And all of my friends are either working or tending to their lives.
Yeah.
Which nothing bad.
Wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
Well, you've been doing the same thing in just a different avenue. You've been working on Secret Society. Like, you guys have a real thing going there. So it's, it's understandable that that's how you lost your...
I don't know if other people necessarily view it that way, but thank you. I think people view it as like me doing this creative, I guess, fun thing, and I haven't grown up or gotten my shit together. But I don't view it that way. I view it as like I don't want kids. Kids don't necessarily fit into my life, and my wife also doesn't want kids, so which is great because I don't feel like I'm, because of how I feel about having children,
right.
I'm keeping her from it, so luckily we both have that in common. Neither of us had any desire to have children. So I think to some of my friends, sometimes it looks like I am chasing after a dream that should have died a long time ago, but I don't view it that way. Like, I feel like sometimes I forget how, because I don't have that constant reminder.
The people who think like that gave up on their dreams, and ultimately they're jealous that you haven't given up yet.
I don't think they gave up on their dreams. I think that their dreams changed. That now their dreams are making sure that their child's dreams come true, or like their dream is to see their child succeed. It's not that they've given up on their dreams. They're just, their dreams changed.
Sure.
And
fair enough. I mean, fair enough. Yeah, you do want to see your kid succeed. The way I see it, though, like I tell my kids, like, the reason I do comedy is because it is my dream. And it's like, if I were to give up on that and you guys would see, and I was okay with it, you'd be okay with giving up on what you weren't chasing after. So it's like, I have to succeed in this so that way you guys know that you can chase your dreams and also succeed.
That, or like you would then probably begin to resent your children in your life.
Oh yeah, no,
it would affect your marriage. Like, I feel like
100%. If I'm not doing stand-up comedy, if I'm not doing what I love, I'm a mean person. I'm upset. I'm frustrated. Like, the monotonous every day becomes too much. It's like, no, I need to have something I'm looking forward to. I got a show or whatever.
And there's a guy, the two guys I used to be in a band with, and they both now have kids and real professions, and they've really, because we went through all of that, we did chase our dreams. We felt like we did everything we wanted to do in that band. They've really embraced fatherhood.
Yeah,
they're very, very excited to be dads.
Yeah,
which is refreshing to see. Like,
no, I love being a dad.
Yeah. And because you still have that creative outlet, and you're able to balance the.
Well, now they give me material left and right all day long too. It's like, I don't know how much time I would actually have if I didn't have kids. As far as like jokes I actually liked, it's like, they've given me so much to talk about.
That's great.
Now, you don't only want to talk about your kids, but you definitely want to.
That's your life, though. Like, you should talk about what you know. You should talk what's personal, what's on your mind.
Yeah.
And those are the jokes that are going to translate well because of the fact that they're real to you.
Yeah. No,
you're
resonate.
Excited to say them to people.
I tell that to like micers or whatever, open micers all the time, like, about joke writing. And like, how do you know what's your best joke? Things like that. It's like, I don't know. What are you most excited about to say? That's what's the best joke right now. Like, when you're most excited about it and you have the most enthusiasm about what's being said, that's probably what your best joke is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I don't know, I kind of also too, I equate it to, like, I try to remind myself of the fact that, like, I need to look at stand-up comedy like I'm excited to go tell my friend this funny little anecdote that I have, or this funny little thing that happened to me. I used to do that even growing up and being homeschooled, like, because you spend so much time in like isolation, and then you get to go, you kind of get flung into like kids your own age. Like, I had like material ready to tell my friends.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I'm going to say this funny thing.
Right.
This funny thing. I'm sure like my buddy Caleb, TJ, they've got something. Steve's very funny. And you're like, here, something that we all saw, like, we were all obsessed. Yeah. Obsessed with Monty Python, and anything Monty Python, we were obsessed with. Anything that we saw that was Monty Python, anything we read on Monty Python, we were ready to tell each other about. Like, a comedy in like my, I guess, little Christian community that I was involved with was very important to all of us. Like, we didn't know it. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know that you could, like, in my head, you had to move to either New York or Los Angeles to do comedy because that's the only places I really saw it.
Sure.
And all the names I see on the marquees in Northeast Ohio are all people from New York or LA or Chicago. So I didn't really think, you could be a comic in Cleveland.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know comedy could be really like done outside those places.
Right.
So in my head, I'm like, well, I guess I know there's a lot of like bands from Cleveland. So I guess you're gonna have to be a musician,
right?
Or, I think I was always really focused on, like, because of how I was, my upbringing in that church, because they were so focused on the arts that, and
You're like, I got to do something
I
artsy.
didn't have to. It was what I wanted to
Right,
do.
right.
So I wanted to do something that wasn't like, I just never really had the desire to have like a real 9 to 5 or like,
Yeah, no.
even though I work a 9 to 5, but like,
Yeah, I understand that completely. I have a 9 to 5 as well, and I have to keep it in order to keep everybody fed and the roof over our heads and all this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think about that often. Like, would I do things differently if I but no, I wouldn't.
No.
I couldn't. No, loving my kids so much, there's no way I could change that. Like, I have to. This is just a part of me now, and it's like, I'll make it a different way. Not all of us have to come from New York or LA. I've accepted that, and even big comics, like there was Louis C.K. was talking to somebody, and he was saying, I don't know if the next big comic's going to come from New York or even LA. I think they're going to be a Midwest guy that's just got their thumb on the heartbeat of society and like understands because most places aren't LA. Most places aren't New York. And like the market for good comedy, the market for comedy is everywhere. Every major city throughout the entire country has a comedy club.
See, this is where I hope he's right, but I kind of disagree with him because the machine of those places like New York or Los Angeles is so vast and so big and has so much money that they will squash anything that but now that they understand the algorithms and how to manipulate them, they will make sure that does not happen.
Or they'll make sure that the one that they're going to get paid from it. Like, oh, you can stay in Ohio, go ahead, but your checks are coming from California,
right?
And
you're going to have to come to California in order to continue your success,
right?
But
maybe it's also the sense of like, not becoming Kevin Hart, but just becoming a Dave Attell, where it's like, no, one of the funniest guys is going to be from like the Midwest somewhere, and it won't be this guy who's been in the trying to make us comics laugh in the back of the cellar. It'll be the guy who can make the rest of the country laugh, like a Nate Bargatze. He's not. But he did go there to get his chops, right? So it's it's a hard thing to. But I think we also have a lot more opportunity now as like small, like a Cleveland scene and a Columbus scene and a Pittsburgh scene and all these places. We're 2 hours away from a bunch of different places where we can go do comedy.
Well, to a Clevelander, that might as well be another planet.
I know, but for a California, that's like, oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like,
I'll go do that.
Sometimes I get very frustrated with Cleveland because of how, like, Clevelanders are a lot like vegans. Like, if you want to know if a person's from Cleveland, just wait 10 minutes. They'll tell you.
Right.
They'll let you know that they're from Cleveland. They're very proud of being from Cleveland. And I get it, but, like, I always say that if you really want to become a successful comic from Cleveland, you need to move to anywhere outside Cleveland to do it.
Or get in the circuit somehow of not only doing Cleveland.
Right. And it's not going to be like New York where you can be in New York and only do New York for 10, 15 years and blow up in that same city.
Right.
Or, like you said,
honing in on skills.
Yeah. The repetition of doing 4 or 5 mics a day, like you're not going to find that in the Midwest. You're not going to find that in Cleveland. You might have
maybe in Chicago a little bit, but
yeah, even then, I'm like, you're doing maybe 2 or 3.
Right.
In those rooms are because there's so few of them and there's so many people in Chicago. It's very competitive.
Oh yeah.
Very competitive. Where like, somebody who, if you have like just the slightest niche that Cleveland needs, you'll be one of the bigger comics in Cleveland because of it.
Right.
Just because there's not enough people to fill those spots. Like the demand in Cleveland's there. There's just not enough I guess there's not enough people necessarily doing it and have been doing it long enough.
Right.
And that's the hard part is like, you can't necessarily fault some of these people for it being their hobby because they're not making any money off of it.
Fair. No, it's 100% fair. It was my hobby once too, and now it's like my passion.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
It's my way out, you know, eventually.
I hope,
Right.
you know, I'm going to be doing this. I've chosen the long road. I've chosen the long game. It might be 27 years down the road and I might still not be shit. Or I will find out that I was never good at this to begin with.
Right.
But I'm going to give it 27 years of putting my life into it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's what I just chose.
Well, and are you having fun when you do it?
I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't. I mean,
sure.
Just like anything else. Like,
I mean,
but I'm learning that like I need to focus on the good things. I need to focus on the things that are fun. I need to remind myself to have fun with it because I will spiral into the abyss of jaded and angry, or why is this person getting, or how did this person get that?
Yeah.
And I found myself doing that last night. I found myself doing it last night where I'm like, oh, like everybody in this town fucking hates me. Mm-hmm. I'm a shitty comic. That's why I'm not getting booked on anything other than my own shows. I'm not getting asked to do anything outside Secret Society because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, because they like so-and-so better and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm going down a fucking rabbit hole of that does not matter. No. And nobody's thinking that way.
No, nobody is.
Not one person is thought that.
Well, you know why? Because we're all thinking about that about ourselves.
100%.
I've had all those thoughts. Like, oh, nobody in Cleveland likes me because I'm not from here. And I don't know. I know I'm funny, but maybe they don't like that I'm funny because they don't want me on the show to do better than them, or like whatever like the case may be. But it's really just like everybody's just dealing with their own life.
Or like I've been pigeonholed into the producer, tech guy. And I worry. That's my biggest worry. Is I'd rather be I will sooner give up
all of that just to be the comic again.
Mm-hmm. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But I just saw that there was a demand that wasn't being met in Cleveland.
No, you guys have... Secret Society is something that we all want to be a part of, 100%.
And you guys all are.
Right.
Like, we need you as very much as you guys need what we're providing.
Right.
And the only reason we were doing it the way we're doing it is because we saw that no one else was.
Yeah.
And like, or the demand... You know, I'm always, it's so funny. I just did a podcast last week about how I broke up with this band, and I broke up with the band because I was mad that they made like a Facebook or a MySpace post, and how social media is a fad, and we shouldn't focus on that. Which is funny now because now I'm like content.
Post everything.
I would dare, and this is the only thing I'll say confidently, is I'll dare to find anybody else in Cleveland where more content has come through these hands than mine.
No, yeah, probably not.
Like anybody,
unless it's their own. I mean, Bill produces a lot of his own stuff, you know. But as far as you guys are putting out a lot, you specifically are putting out a lot for a lot of people. I mean,
I'm just shelling it out, and I'm like, please just use it.
Yeah.
And as much as I love the people in my community, as far as comics are concerned, sometimes they don't. And I'm saying that to you because you're one of the ones who do use the content.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Wolf just posted a video of him doing our show from a video that I gave to him. Mm-hmm. I fucking love that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even care that he didn't tag us or whatever. I don't give a shit about that. I don't like. There was a situation where Raj had a video, got like 2-something million hits or whatever. 200 or 2 million plays or whatever it was, and which is great. He didn't tag us to it, but I don't give a shit.
Right.
I don't care that like
you were there to help create that.
Yeah,
some way.
I just want them to use it because the more we use this content, the more we're creating those high tides where everyone can rise from.
Well, and it's a brand. It's a brand. It's a style. when we're watching the videos you create for us, it's got that same, it's like if Nabisco made something, they're using that Nabisco flour or whatever. It's that Gheramy, like, I was a part of this. This is the lighting, everything is the style, just like when you go to like a Don't Tell show and it's like a Don't Tell special, there's a vibe to it. It's the same thing when you create something. It's like a secret society vibe to it.
Man, I really appreciate you saying that, because I try to differentiate us from what they do.
Right.
Now that I don't think what they're doing is bad. I just don't.
You don't want to be considered a copycat.
With that, I just view it differently.
Right.
I have a different palette than they have, and they're not doing it wrong. They're doing great. They're putting out great.
One of the biggest comedy businesses in the country now.
Yeah, and they're doing great work. It just I have a very different approach to it, but at the end of the day, what's most important for me is people using the content. In a lot of comics in Cleveland don't, and I can't, and that's where I come in with I can't necessarily fault them for it, because not everybody's passion is comedy. They're doing, some of them just doing this for fun.
Me, 100% of the time, if I was offered a quality video over payment, I'm going to go with the quality video, because I know the potential in that is so much higher. I mean, having a good video is important to get booked everywhere else, because you can have a great set of you from the wrong angle and they're not going to watch it, because it's like, man, it looks like somebody in the crowd filmed it.
Right.
And it's like all these little things start to click in your head, like, yeah, I'm a funny comedian. Why am I not getting booked? As well, because you didn't take the time to pay somebody to do a good video for you in a real space, and have a quality upfront version of that, where you're just, oh yeah, I filmed it on my phone from my tripod in the left-hand corner where you can't really hear nothing. It's like, you got to have a quality video. You have to.
And these kids in Cleveland, I mean, for a full year and a half, they got paid on top of their video. So the first year we were doing it, I was very adamant about but after I noticed nobody was using any of it, why waste my time?
Yeah.
Why waste my time on it? Like, it still frustrates me.
Yeah, obviously. I would be frustrated too.
Like,
especially because I understand the value of it, right? Like, no, that's what you hand out, what you give to people, like with the quality of camera, like what goes into it, it's worth it. Especially if this is what you want to do. You got to have content that you can put out. And that's just the world we are today. Stop saving everything up for a special, man. A lot of us aren't going to get specials, but maybe some of us will get booked. You know?
Or you could cheaply make a special. Right. You have those resources available to you.
Yeah, nowadays, right. We can
get
a couple Steve Murr, yeah.
You've got those resources right there built into your community.
Yeah.
And yet, for some reason, Cleveland comics can't get their shit together enough to even just do it right.
Like, hey, I'm going to be here this weekend. Can you come film me? How much would it cost? What would you do it for? And then, okay, make the decision from there. But they're not even contacting you guys. I contacted Steve, like, hey, man, what is your price? Because I love the way your cinematography looks. Mm-hmm. I want to know, okay, well, when I'm ready and I have a show that it's like, this is the one.
Yeah.
I need you to come. Who was producing the Brothers thing yesterday?
I have no idea.
Weird. Because
no idea.
It must have been Steve. He was on the show. It had to be Steve.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was because I did remember seeing something like...
or maybe it was just the Brothers Lounge themselves?
It was just a completely different company altogether. I don't remember I didn't know who they were. I've never heard of them before. They seem to be involved. It's like they had an Instagram page, but their Instagram page was pretty unclear of what they actually did. So I'm not sure what it was. But I know it was like an outside company. I don't even know if they were from Cleveland.
That's
even.
odd. I for sure thought it was going to be like when I saw that they were doing that, I was like, oh, awesome. Cleveland's putting something together. Like, hey, we're here. Like, especially when we got roast battle or whatever. Now, I will never roast battle. That's not my niche. I'm not into that. I don't find it fun to be mean to people.
Yeah.
You know, like I get it. I understand it. I understand the fun of it. I love watching it. I will never do that. It's just not my cup of tea. But the fact that it's like, hey, Cleveland's here.
Well, you
it's
and
like,
I are a lot alike where we're just busy guys, and if we're going to take the time to write material, we wanted to make it something I can use after that evening.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really need to tell you that you're fat or whatever. Right. You know what I mean? I really don't need to make fun of you for being anything. It's not beneficial to my comedy. But no, I do like the fact that so when I saw that Cleveland was producing like these little mini specials, I was like, okay, this is cool. And then it's like if they're gonna do one, they're gonna do another one, and then maybe we'll get our shot, you know. And it's like a little 15-minute special. Cool, I'll take that all day, and I'll take good quality video all day long, and I'll come up. I got over an hour of material to do, you know. Oh, you want 15 minutes of something good that I like that I'm ready to let go of? Okay, let's do it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny to me how, like, you know, comics in Cleveland will bitch, moan, and complain, but they don't put in the actual hours to, like, better their situation. And there are guys that aren't just doing this as a hobby. Yeah. They're not just doing it as, like, something fun. They're in it, which I respect, but, like, you got to take full advantage of the resources that are quite literally given to you.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting handed, like, yeah, they don't realize that. And that was kind of like why I'm like, okay, we got to use this as, like, either as payment.
An either or kind of deal. Because the people who are serious are going to take the video, and then the people who aren't are going to be like, no, give me my $50 or whatever it is. Give me my cash, and I'll be, you know, I'm happy with that.
They already they have somebody else there who's filming for them.
Sure.
Fine.
That's fine too. Yeah. Okay.
I don't care. You're still using the stage that we provided. Yeah. That's great. The footage doesn't have to come from me.
Right.
I just want you to use it.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's your own. Like.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know you guys said you don't mind that they don't tag you in it, but I mean, yeah, tag me in it. Like, it was this show. You're
gonna. I think our room's gotten just recognizable enough.
Oh yeah, like, you know when it's at Mahal's. You know that secret. You already know. It's got the gorilla.
We have the sign now that we have that, like, little sign. This is Secret Society.
Placard, yeah. So it's like it's already known. And then the other rooms are good too, but it's like that Mahal's room is something special because it's like it's intimate in there. It's not much bigger than this room, you know.
Yeah,
it's intimate, and the people are there to have a good time. Like, every time I've been to Mahal's and just watched, I'm like, man, this is a different type of comedy. It's not like Hilarities where there's 300 plus people or whatever. This is 25 people. Make us laugh, motherfucker. And it's a different kind of vibe.
Well, yeah, that's what we wanted. Like, we definitely wanted a more, like, intimate room, but also too, like, what we're doing isn't, like, anything really that different or unique that you're not going to find in LA or New York. That's where I learned all that shit from. Like, I'm literally taking the format of a New York comedy club and just copying and pasting it up in that room. That's all I'm doing.
And giving the opportunity for people in Cleveland to go do something at 11 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. You know? I wonder do you think it'll, because everybody's talking about it slows down in the summer because people got so much more other stuff to do. Do you feel that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We have 2 years of data to prove it.
Okay.
Like, the last 2 years, we lost so much money. So much. I don't want to get into the numbers, but we lost a fuck ton of money last summer and kind of got ourselves into a little bit of a hole there for a minute that I wasn't sure if we could even get out of. Mm-hmm. But, man, we clawed and scraped our way out of it.
And then now you guys just take a step back for summer and go, okay, we'll produce less shows and just produce what we need to.
Yep. And it keeps...
Maybe keep more local guys into that position of, like, headliner or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. It gives us the opportunity to give what we couldn't during the winter.
Well, that's the same thing with dude from Funny Farm, right? Because he's like, yeah, summer slows down big time in Youngstown, and people are doing other things, so we're only going to do one show a week, and it'll be at the good location, and then that's it.
It's smart. I mean,
and he's like doing local, so he gave me the headline, but I'm also headlining with Rob Coleman, so it's like a co-headliner deal, which is hey, whatever you want to give me, Dave, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing like 30. And then but I think he's gonna let me do it last, which is cool. I was like, okay, I'll be the headline, whatever.
Right.
But it's like more or less, it's Dave saying, hey, I think you're ready to do this, but also, hey, here's a feature weekend in October as well. So, it's like you're moving in the right direction, but I still need you in this position as well.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's a step in the right direction too. Like as far as your careers go, and I get where he's coming from too. Like. Cleveland's the same way. Where summertime, it gets really, really slow. Like, I think after this week, every show is going to be just pretty much dead, unless there's a really good reason for them to come out, or there's literally nothing else going on.
Right.
Which is what.
Right. It's like marketed as a date night item because you know what? I mean, I have a wife, right? And when we have a date night available, like the grandparents are willing to watch the kids, I literally type in date nights in Cleveland, like in Google, to see what the fuck I could do.
Right.
And if your guys' shit came up on there, that would be a definitely, that behind the list. Oh, we can go catch like a secret comedy show. That's cool. Let's go do that.
Yeah. And we're such idiots that we didn't even realize it until like almost a year in of like, because we were like, why is this show always pretty busy? Like, we always know that like that's our North Star. Like, we know that show is always going to be really good, but we're like, why?
Yeah.
Because we don't put like, as far as advertising, we don't put a ton of money into it.
Right.
But it's always good. Why is it? And they're like, oh, right. There's literally nothing else fucking going on during that time.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason I wanted to do it was because, at the time I was getting decent club work. And then after doing the club work, I stopped drinking. I didn't have anything to do. I don't want to go to a bar. I didn't want to yell at my friends just so we can hear each other audibly.
Sure.
Or listen to shitty music or, so I was like, I got to figure out something else to do. And I was telling the lady who used to work there at Mayhall's about it, and she's like, oh, we just got done remodeling upstairs. You want to take a look at it? Mm-hmm. Might be a good fit for what you're trying to do. As soon as I walked into that room, I was like, this is
we'll
it.
Make this work. Yeah.
I was like, this is the room. This is exactly what I'm looking for.
I love that.
So, yeah, it was kind of like it all came together. And then I was trying to get other comics involved, and every comic, or at least veteran comic I told about it, thought it was a bad idea. They all told me it was a shitty idea. It would never work.
And now it's a Cleveland staple.
Like, I don't even know if Dave or Brian thought it would work, but they were willing to try.
Sure.
They're the only ones who were willing to try it with me. Because I knew I couldn't do it on my own. There's no way I could. It wouldn't be what it is today without those two guys.
No, absolutely.
It may have been my idea, but Brian and David are the reason it's successful.
Right.
I wholeheartedly believe that. And I knew I needed help with it, and every comic told me it was a bad idea. And Dave already had this also, like, he's like, okay, I can get Gheramy involved. Like, we're going to do his idea, but I can also get him involved with the tech idea for the other shows I wanted to do.
Sure. So
remotely. Which I wasn't sure was a good idea.
Right.
But I was willing to give it a go. If they're willing to, roll the dice on me, it's only right for me to give them the same benefit of a doubt. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I'm involved with it. I'm now realizing, or like I'm trying really hard. And I said this last summer too. I'm trying really hard to remind myself to have fun.
Yes. You know who I was talking to? So me and Elijah went to a Don't Tell in Dayton, and we rode together. And Elijah, for anybody, he's an amazing 19-year-old kid who's doing big things.
He's so smart.
Smart kid, but he was the one to remind me on the way. He's like, you got to have fun, though, too, right? And because we're talking technical stuff and like different joke writing techniques, and then, but it does boil down to like, are you having fun? Because that's the most important thing, is especially for a crowd, is like, is this guy nervous or is he having fun? Is this guy, because I mean, we as comics, we forget like the audiences are smart people who can read body language and energy and everything else, and they're looking at you going, he doesn't feel confident up there, and then that shifts the way they feel about you. And so that's why when I go up there, I don't know if you've ever seen me do like my routine before I go on stage, but I beat my chest.
I've not seen you do that, but a similar kind of routine.
Yeah, I well, what happened was I was at an open mic maybe 10 years ago, like first starting out. I was nervous about going on stage, and I was hanging outside smoking cigarettes, and this fucking guy, never seen him again in my life, but he came in to the outside area and he was like, "What's wrong, man? You look nervous." I go, "Yeah, I am nervous. I'm about to go up on stage." And he goes, "Don't worry about that. Here, let's do something." And I go, "What do you mean?" He's all, "Do me a favor. Just stretch out your legs. Take up space." I go, "Okay." He's all right, "Stretch your arms out. Really take up. This is your space." And I go, "Okay, cool." He's all right, "Now do me a favor. Stand up." So I stand up. He's all right, "Start beating your chest." And I'm beating it like this. And he's like, "No, beat it for real. Like you're about to go to battle." And so I start beating my chest. And then he's all right, "Now take a deep breath. Blow it out." He's like, "Where'd all that nervous energy go?" Because he was like, "It was right here, right?" And he's pointing at my stomach. I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Where's it now?" And I go, "Oh, it's in my chest." He's like, "You know what that is? That's adrenaline." He's like, "Do that before you go on stage. You're going to do great." And I do that before I go on stage, and I have one of the best sets I've had at an open mic ever. And I'm like ecstatic. And I go outside. Motherfucker's nowhere to be seen ever again. I was like, dude, he must have been a guardian fucking angel or something, because now I do it every single time before I go on stage.
Yeah, I was similar where I'll shake my hands out, I'll stretch, I'll jump up and down, like almost like I'll do jumping jacks too, like just to kind of get my blood rushing a little bit. There's definitely a connection between like body and mind with that kind of stuff. And so you're expelling a lot of the nervous energy.
Yeah.
You're getting it out of yourself. I used to do that when I played in a band, and I stopped doing that for some reason when I started doing stand up, and I was like, "Oh, right, I could use that."
Yeah, that's a skill that would translate 100%.
And it does. It helps me calm down. It gets me in the headspace to do comedy. Because sometimes, you're setting up, we got everything together, and then finally we can focus on the actual comedy part of the show.
Right.
So, because we got to kind of like change gears. Yeah. And Brian and I David's the man of it. Like, he can, a drop of a hat. He can go from producer
but that's his job, right? I mean, isn't he like a public speaker, or what is he, a motivational speaker of some kind or something like that?
But I
probably has a bachelor's in communication or some shit, or at least an associate's. No, really? Oh, I would assume he would.
He's just
built
good.
Like that.
Yeah. On a moment's notice, he's very good at just going from producer to stand up.
I love watching David, because David has a good energy when he's up there, and it doesn't matter what he's talking about, he believes it, and that's a huge important thing.
Yeah,
is when you're up there, you better believe what you're saying, because why else are you wasting our time?
Brian's very charismatic, and I like that about him. But Brian and I are both of that. Like, we have to have that like 5 to 10 minutes of getting our heads together.
Yes.
Otherwise, everything falls apart.
Yes.
It mostly falls apart anyways, but like...
No, I know, but yeah.
At least it's a more controlled falling apart than...
Yeah, you've prepared yourself for whatever's about to happen. At least if you didn't do that, it would be worse.
Mm-hmm.
Though, you know what, the one thing I forgot to mention is the guy says, "You know what that's from? When you beat your chest?" He said, "That's when we were monkeys, man." I go, "Wait, what?" He goes, "Yeah, man, you ever see a gorilla get in a fight? What does he do? He beats his fucking chest." And I was like... All right, dude.
Yeah,
like, okay.
Touch with that primal energy.
That primal energy. And I was like, oh, okay, understandable. I'll take it.
What are like some of the lessons you've learned in stand-up that kind of like translate into being a dad?
don't be mean. Don't be a mean person. One time I went on stage and I was like, look at this ugly lady. Like I was a young comic and she came up to me after she's all, I was really excited to watch you do stand up because you looked like you had good energy. And the first thing you did was make fun of me. That wasn't very nice. And so try to be nicer to people. And so like, because as a young comic, you're trying to be edgy and testy and all these things. And it's like, even as a dad, you're like, you get frustrated with how they do things because it's not how you would do it. But you have to just be patient and try to be nice. That's the one thing that me and my kids, me and my wife always telling the kids is just try to be nice with it. Like I understand that your little sister's bugging you or pissing you off, but try to be nice in the way of like even asking her to stop. Don't get so angry, you know. And I'm not perfect. Obviously, I'm still a dad who gets frustrated, but I do always remember try to be nice to my kids. And maybe my dad wasn't that way either, you know. My dad was my coach in baseball, and I remember driving home and after a loss and it being my fault. Even if it wasn't, but it felt like my fault. And so it's like I don't want my kids to feel that. But stand up, there's a lot of lessons you can patience, right? But I'm still learning comedy too, like staying in the pocket for a joke. Because sometimes I'll tell a bit and then like I'll just like I could wait longer for everybody to get it, but I'm like they're not laughing fast enough. Let me move on. And it's like so I do this gummy bear joke, right, where it's like the punchline is, you know, my son's like, hey dad, if you eat the red gummy bear, it tastes like cherry. And I'm like, hey son, if you eat the gummy bear with a potato chip, it's kind of like the bear had bones. And you sit there and I like on stage I'll do that and I'll just like there'll be a couple chuckles and then I'll like look around the room and then everybody's brain goes, oh wait, and it's like, man, if I just get that first chuckle and go, oh, they hate it, and move on. So it's like, just be patient, stay in the pocket, make sure what you said is heard. And so and I want to do that with more jokes. That's like one of my new favorite jokes at the moment. It's because it's just like it's a thinker.
Yeah, comedy has a really comedy has a way of like making you forget everything you were and questioning everything you are. And which leaves a lot of room for a lot of like insecurity. And I'm the same way. As soon as I don't hear that like initial laugh, I start just feeling that void panic with words. And that's not, sometimes I forget, like I'm in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Their minds move a little bit slower.
Yeah.
So you got to give them that minute or that brief second to allow them to get it. Right. And that, I guess that is a good thing with to bring into like being a dad. It's like, give them a second.
Yeah. Give them a minute. Yeah. Give them a minute to register what you're asking.
How do you feel like, I'm kind of surprised to hear that you get a little nervous about stand-up here and there, because I feel like,
I'm nervous every single time.
Wow. Because I feel like, you've already experienced the worst thing that could possibly happen. Like your mom was murdered. So like, what could stand-up do to you that you haven't already experienced?
So it's the drug, right? It's like the drug addict's nervous. Like, this isn't going to get me high this time. This isn't going to go as well as it's supposed to for me. And I'm not going to get that feeling of like I did well. And so the moment I get on stage and I grab the mic, the nervousness goes away, because now it's put up or shut up. This is how it's going to go. So time to go.
Right.
But all the way walking up to the stage, going up, everybody's looking at me like that nervous energy is there. Now, obviously, I do my little trick, and it's, it's maybe a balancing act between adrenaline and nervousness. But as soon as I grab the mic and it's like, okay, here we go. And then so the nervousness goes away. But every single time before I go on stage, there is that nervous energy.
Yeah, there's always that like tension.
Yeah,
that's there. It's so much.
Well, and that's
until
why
you say those first words, it's like then it just gets completely shut.
And then I'm like super in my head all the time, so I can't watch most shows. Like most shows I'm on, I can't watch until I've gone on stage, because I don't want to watch the host or even whoever's up first before me perform, and then like, because one, I like the comics. I have a camaraderie with comedians. We're out here trying this, and if the crowd doesn't react the way I want them to react to you, I'll get angry. And now I'm going up there angry. So literally, I have to be the guy. Like, I'm not doing this because I don't want to watch you or whoever. I'm doing it because I shouldn't. Because I need to go up there not knowing how they were, so that way I can determine how I did based off of just me.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, I say that a lot. Like, I have to convince myself that the audience is the best audience I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And I cannot know whether or not they are.
Yeah.
Because I have to live in that reality until I get up on stage.
Yes, exactly. I have to assume that they're really good and that they're excited about this. Otherwise, it's like, oh. Was that the thunderstorm?
The thunderstorm, yeah.
Oh, it's finally starting. It was because all day long. So this was a makeup game for soccer. All day long, we're like, oh, we're going to get rained out again. We're going to get rained out again. You know, and it just kept moving back and back and back. So now we finally got it.
Yeah, it's comedy is that nervousness is like I'm the same way. I gotta tell myself that this crowd's amazing, this crowd's the best crowd ever before I get up. And also too, I'm kind of a sponge during that time. I'm very vulnerable, so if I hear somebody doing comedy a certain way, I will go to all those bad habits that I had and do them up on stage. I did that the other night, right? One more joke where I got up and I did my one joke, but I said it so wrong. And it's no one's fault other than my own. I'm not going to blame anywhere else, but it was because I spent too much time focusing on what everyone else was doing.
Yeah.
Because I think
you'll notice it now. Like, if you catch me at a mic, I will not be in the room. And it's not because I don't like anybody or anything. I know myself after 10 years of being a comedian that I'm better off just hanging out outside till my turn. And it's like, it's hard for me. Like, even in a thing that doesn't matter, like one more joke, it's fun. This is one of the best mics to do as a young comic, or even just trying to polish a minute. It's one of the best things you can do. It's one of the funnest comedy nights. And it shouldn't mean anything. But it does. It means something. It means enough to me to be like, no, I want my 1 minute to go well if I'm showing up.
I always have to remind myself some really good advice I got from Dave Flint. Dave Flint, because I was like, this is really early on when I was doing comedy, but like, I did a mic. It did not go well at all. I bombed probably the whole time. And I was just outside just stewing and mad at myself. And Flint saw it on me. And he's like, what's the matter? I go, oh, yeah, I bombed in there. It was fucking embarrassing. He's like, you didn't bomb there? You can't bomb at an open mic.
Yeah.
He goes, you want to know why you can't bomb at an open mic? Because everyone in that room is either thinking about what they're about to do, because it was all comics, or they're thinking about what they just did. That's all they're doing. They're inside their own head just like you are now. So you can't bomb at an open mic.
That's 100% true. That's good advice.
I always have to constantly remind myself about that.
The problem is, though, and this is the only problem with that, is that you can kill at an open mic, too. You can.
And the ego that comes along with that.
Oh, yeah, dude. Trust me. So, in California, I would walk open mics because I would go up. One, it's like I'm going like an hour away from comedians that don't know me, but have heard of me. You know, and I would go up and crush my 5 minutes, and then the entire room would walk out and follow me to have a cigarette because they're like, I got to talk to this guy. Who was that, and how'd you do that? And so literally I would walk an open mic where it would be like, 15, 20 comics waiting for their turn in the room, and then I get off and I fucking just did well, and they would all follow me outside.
There's also, you had an hour of preparation of the drive.
Oh, yeah.
Do you listen to music on your drive? I don't either. It's completely dead silence. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do by the time I get there, and that whole hour is just spent on preparation for that.
Oh, and then the hour before I even leave, I'm in my garage doing my jokes.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been much of a writer, as like writing down every single word that I'm going to say like a nerd. I'm not that. I can't be that guy. Well, here's the thing. Tell me, Jeremy, you haven't been to an open mic and you watch a guy go up and you could tell that he's reading what he's saying inside of his brain because this is the way I wrote it down.
Yep.
And it's like, this isn't funny because we know that you're like practicing a script out loud in front of us that you're reading. Like,
We do that too.
yeah,
Even without writing it down, we do that too. I think sometimes we get into a mode of like we've done this joke so many times.
this is the way it goes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's more like you're talking at them than talking to
Right.
them.
And so with my routine before I even leave a place, like if I'm really like, I will sit in my garage and I will rearrange the set multiple ways until I find what I'm actually excited about talking about. And that's why that's why you get hours of material, right? Is because it's like a joke you told 5 years ago was super hot and fun, and then it got boring. Mm-hmm. And then you forget about it. And then you talk to your buddy and they go, hey, you still doing that one joke? And you go, oh yeah, I forgot about that joke. And it's like, how did it go? And then now you're in the garage doing it again, fresh. And it's like, oh, here's the new version of it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it becomes, but that's why I do it in the garage and I like rehearse, but it's not, I play like I'm at Madison Square Garden in my garage doing the jokes with the same energy I'm about to go do it with.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, or you get in a situation where you haven't done this joke in forever and you wrote a different joke, but then you realize that old joke fits in with the new joke, and then that old joke is now super exciting to tell because of how well it pairs, or you can use parts of it into this new joke that you have. Yeah, it's always fun too. Like I do get into like, I like it, kind of like what you were saying earlier about riffing with different comics. That's my favorite part about doing comedy. I love it. I like the writing process. I like
the hang at the open mic after in the parking lot was always the funnest time. Was always the funnest time is holding court, right? Like being that, and that's one thing I missed about, like, because I'm in Cleveland now. I'm the new kid on the block. It feels like, up for at least a year now. But now I feel like I can, maybe hold court a little bit. But back in the day when I was Tony fucking Bowers from, that kid in California, like, who is this guy at the open mics or whatever? It was like I was holding court. It was like, it was just different, but it's like now there's a lot of, what's interesting about, so I was in like the Riverside San Bernardino scene out here in Cleveland. You guys there's so many good comics, whereas like where I was from in my little piece of California, there was like 4 good comics, there was like 4 or 5 guys who were really funny. And then, but out here, there's a ton of people that you're like, wow, that was actually really fucking funny.
Yeah. There's some really talented people in this town. There really are. But man, if they only put just a scotch,
right.
Just a scotch more effort in the like content and promoting themselves. Yeah. They could be something. Yeah. And I think Elijah's one of those cats that is like, he's proving
everybody, like, look at, all you got to do is this.
Yep. He's proving it. He'll be the example, or like what's the proof of concept.
Yeah. Well, he'll be the guy we're all talking about in 5 years ago. Man, yeah. Elijah's
that Midwest person that
it could be. Yeah.
He could be. He's that fucking good.
Yeah.
He's that talented and that young and that driven.
I know.
He's got the work ethic.
I remember being that funny at 19, and I feel like maybe I've lost something just being older and becoming more, just fucked in the world of like, man, I got a mortgage and I got credit card debt and all this stuff that's, imagine being 19 again, fucking with that $5,000 credit card. Like, fuck it. Like that kid was funny too, man.
Oh, man. That kid's much funnier than
I didn't know that you could do comedy. I didn't realize you could do it until I was like 23 or something. And a comedy club. Yeah. Oh,
like
really?
30.
Really?
Yeah.
See, yeah. A comedy club had opened up like 2 towns over. And I was like, wait, what? Like, there's a club? That's cool. And they go, yeah, they got an open mic. I go, what's an open mic? And they go, you can just go and like do 5 minutes. And I go, you can? All right. And I fucking wrote 5 minutes of jokes, and I told a bunch of buddies and whatever, and we all show up to this fucking comedy club, Ace's Comedy Club. It was my first time doing an open mic, and I fucking crush it for 5 minutes. So much so that the owner was like, hey man, you did really well. You want to come back and start hosting for us? Because it was like a B-room club, like Crackpots, right? And so it was like, you want to start hosting for us? And immediately I was like, yeah, I'll host. I'll do that. Like, he's like, how much time do you got? I go, I don't know. I got that, what I just did. How much time do I need? He's like, maybe like 10 minutes. I was like, all right, I'll write some more. And then I was like so pumped. I went down to like Pachanga, which is like the casino out there. And they got a comedy club, the Pachanga Comedy Club. And I was like, I'm fucking like 23. I'm high as hell because I feel like, man, I just found my dream. And I'm like knocking on the door, like, y'all better book me before it's too late. You can't afford me, But nobody was there. But I went and played some blackjack. But that's just what ended up happening. But I was at 23. I was like, man, this is it for me. And then I immediately started hosting. So like after my very first open mic, I was like a regular host at a comedy club, and that was like my start.
Yeah, I miss the ignorant confidence
Of being 20 something.
Yeah, or like just starting comedy. Just like you think you can conquer the world because you had one good set.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this is it. I'm
Yep.
on my way. How do you think your kids view comedy?
They don't understand what I do and why it's funny.
Or like, what do they think about what you're doing? I guess like
They understand like the idea of like I go and I get up on stage and I tell people jokes and they laugh, and sometimes I get paid, and sometimes they understand, like they kind of understand, but obviously they don't know any of my jokes. I don't tell my kids,
Sure.
I don't show them my YouTube channel and be like, look at all my jokes that I tell about you guys. But they understand that this is what I go do, and sometimes they'll be like, I want to do comedy too, and then they'll get up on the coffee table and like do their version of a joke or whatever,
cool.
which is basically them just doing some shit that they saw on fucking some cartoon they were watching or whatever. I showed them Rookie of the Year because we're into baseball, and remember with the scene when Henry Beauregard, Funky Butt Lovin'.
Yeah.
Now Henry says that all the time. Like if he gets mad, funky butt loving, and it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's what he'll do he'll do stuff like that where it's, and to be honest, hey, I get it. Like that's how we all started to figure out what was funny when we were little.
riffing.
Yeah, we're taking stuff. I mean, remember before memes and the internet, we would all just quote fucking Adam Sandler movies and.
Yep.
Like that was
Or
just
Dumb and
Dumber, Knocked Up. All those anything that had anything Dave Chappelle from the show,
Right.
That's what we did. Like that was our meme.
Or even just like like growing up, I would listen to like comedy albums with my grandfather, so I'd like quote some shit like as if it were my idea.
100%.
Yeah.
So that was my first time doing comedy, but I used to. So in high school, I had a cool teacher, Mr. Wilson. He was my English teacher, and if we didn't have nothing going on, he'd be like, I would take the mic and I would go do Dave Chappelle's Killing Them Softly, the PG-13 version as best I could for the classroom of like 40 kids or whatever. And he would just let me go up there and mess around and like do all the jokes because some of the kids obviously haven't seen it or whatever. And I knew it front to back because it was on my DVR in my room and I'd watch it every night, same with like Martin Lawrence, and those were like the guys I liked the most too. Like Martin Lawrence, I probably watched Run Tell That for like 3 months straight every single night.
I remember my cousin had the Kings of Comedy, like all those guys with their suits.
Yeah.
I remember that vividly. I was like, man, these are the well-dressed comedians of all time. I was like so jealous of their suits. Bernie Mac was definitely my guy. I loved Bernie Mac.
Yeah. They also had a talent show, and I did do the talent show comedy, and I literally went to I watched Rodney Dangerfield's Comics on the Rise or whatever it was, and literally I just stole a minute from like 5 different people and did my 5 minutes of just copying jokes I heard from that special.
The first time you did comedy?
Yeah, first time I ever did comedy was in a talent show in like sophomore year.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's crazy.
And then I didn't realize, I was like, okay, I did that. That's cool. And then I was like back to football or whatever the hell. And then I didn't, and then years later, that's when I found out, I was like, man, how do you do that? Like, how do you go about being,
A comic, yeah.
And then it was just like I said, they opened a club. I was like, oh, you could just go do it? That's cool.
or like then you get reintroduced to stand up from like the new Carland or like or as much Dane Cook. Like,
Oh, I loved Dane Cook
yeah,
as a 19-year-old.
I wasn't like a huge Dane Cook guy, but like I really loved the fact that it reminded me of stand up.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me that stand up existed. And that was like, and it still exists. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, it's all these old guys who are doing it. You know what I mean? I didn't think anybody young was up there doing it.
Right.
And so.
And then Dane comes along.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember listening to Dane's first album. You know, the first time I ever heard Louis C.K. was the night my mom died.
Really?
That was another time where it was like, because that was like when I was like 22, 21. And so I didn't start doing comedy until I was like 23 or 24, maybe 25, something like that. But the night that my mom died, my sister was like, hey, I watched this special on Netflix. We should watch this. And Louis C.K. starts talking about there's so many more dead people than there are alive people. And people are like, oh, because everybody's around. We're all like a bunch of people.
So you had already found out.
Oh, yeah, we'd already found out. And we're all just like trying to stop crying and do something else. And people are like, oh, no, he's talking about dead people. And I was like, let's hear what he's got to say. I'm ready to see. Like, I'm tired of crying. Like, let's just get through this, And then it became like, oh, man, this dude is the funniest dude ever. Crying, laughing, just having a moment of, like, not thinking about my mom died, And it was just Louis C.K. and that special, where he starts out, there's more dead people than there are alive. Most of all you're ever going to do in this entire universe is just be dead.
Right.
And it was like, and there was like a fucking comfort in that. Like, oh, it's fine. I mean, obviously it's not fine the way she died and all that. That's terrible. But at the end of the day, we all just die.
Right. Yeah. My uncle used to say, nobody gets out of this life alive.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I love it. I love that saying. It's so true. And like, it's one thing I'm very thankful for from my family is they taught me that when these horrible things happen, the best thing to do is to crack jokes.
Yeah.
In the worst times with my family, it was like so-and-so passed away or like this tragic thing happened. There immediately we went to jokes or like funny things that happened to
with them
or that person. Or like as soon as we found out you were like terminally ill, instantly became the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
100%. But that's how we coped with things.
Yes, that's exactly
what made
how
things
you do
okay.
it.
And yeah, that's one thing I will say about my family that like I'm very, very, very thankful for is that they all have a very good sense of humor, even in the worst of times.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's inappropriate.
Yeah,
I'm sure it sounds heinous, and sometimes I forget you can't be like that with everybody. But like, it's very comforting for me.
Oh, 100%. We're in the same exact boat. That's exactly how you deal with it. That's funny because, yeah. Well, and then I have uncles, like my Uncle Steve, who is 51-year-old dad. He's the kind of guy who doesn't give a fuck, that you're not supposed to. And he'll go out of his way to be like, fuck you, like kind of energy. And so that's like the people I looked up to. So it's like, oh, just who cares? That's like so we live in Lyndhurst and there's that school, Hawken. I don't know if you heard of this Hawken school. Mm-hmm. It's like a pay-to-play school where it's like tuition is like $9,000 for a fucking 7-year-old.
Holy shit. And
you're like, what the fuck is this? But like that disdain for like people who think they're better than you comes from like we're fucking white trash poor people. Who are just making our way through the world. So it's like, we're not supposed to talk about that. Like,
right.
Like that's the energy we feel toward. Like, so when you said like, oh, you're not supposed to do that with everybody. Fuck those people. Like that was in my heart, and that was from my Uncle Steve.
So what would be like the lesson you like as far as like what comedy? Like what would you feel like the lesson from comedy that you would want to transfer to your kids? Like.
Yeah, I think we covered it. Go after your dreams, man. Go after it. Win, lose, or draw, go after it because, I mean, otherwise you're fucking depressed and sad that you're not doing something for yourself. go after your dream. Like, my son genuinely wants to be in the MLB right now, and he's a 5-year-old kid, 6-year-old kid, and those dreams might change, but go after it, man. Go be the best T-baller you can. And that kid goes out in the baseball. He goes out every day and hits 100 pitches or 100 balls off the tee. And I guarantee you my son's going to hit a couple home runs this year at T-ball.
Hell yeah.
Because that's just what his dream is right now, you know? My daughter wants to be a singer. Okay, well, sing us a couple songs tonight. After do something to help you get that. Just like I'm doing it because I'm going to go do stand-up later, or I'm going to go. I got a show coming up that I'm working on. And so, yeah, follow your dreams, man. That's the number one thing that comedy has, that I want my kids to know is like, hey, you can go after what you want. You just got to go after it.
I think it's a good spot to end. I like
Good.
that.
Perfect.
Where can they find you on social media?
Tony Bowers Live on all social media except for TikTok because that's going away, right? So, but Tony Bowers Live, Tony Bowers LIVE on everything.
Talk about the TikTok thing after we're done here.
Yeah.
But you can find me at secretsocietycomedy.com. Figure out where we're at next. Also go to, you can send all of your nude photos to at Gheramy _ Demery on Instagram. And, so I fixed, you probably heard through this episode, I fixed the AI mixer problem thing with the soundboard, so you guys can stop complaining about that. Also, too, I said that I had some. Well, I guess you've heard this episode, I guess already. There was an episode that was going to make a Patreon, but I found something out that I was like, okay, it'd be inappropriate to make it a Patreon. So I'm going to put it out as a free episode. I promise you, I will get Patreon content out there. I'll probably have it done by the time you guys are hearing this. So thanks to all the Patreon subscribers and all your responses and everything. All right. Well, thank you again.
Dude,
Tony Bowers.
It was a pleasure, man. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for doing this. It was a great conversation.
Anytime.